Welcome to Sun and Moon Yoga. My name is Nicole, and today's video is going to be an interactive workshop where we go through basic adjustments and alignment techniques that will help us to develop a strong and sturdy foundation to our yoga practice. So these will be things that you can constantly check in on throughout your yoga flows to make sure you're really getting the maximum benefit of each and every yoga posture. So we'll be starting today from the ground in tabletop pose and working our way up to Tadasana or mountain pose, and we'll be going through some of the basic postures that you can expand to from these positions. Alright yogis, now make your way to a comfortable seat at the back of your mat. We're going to start with tabletop pose, but before we go there, we want to first think about where our hands are going to be placed on the mat. We want them to be exactly shoulder width distance apart, and the way we can get them here is we can grab opposite elbows, open up the arms, and there you have it, you're exactly shoulder width distance. And this movement will come naturally to you with time, but if you're a beginner and you want to make sure you're doing it exactly right, it's a great way to just come back here, make sure you have it shoulder width distance. So grab opposite elbows, open the arms up, and we're going to place the hands on the ground in a tabletop pose. The next thing we want to make sure of is we want to make sure the shoulders are directly over the wrists, and we also want the hips to be directly over the knees. So that means you may have to bring your knees in a little bit, or you may have to bring them out, as long as they're directly above. So what we do from here is going to be mainly micro adjustments, but they're going to make a big difference in your posture. So first we want to press down through the backs of the fingers. So not just pushing into the fingertips, but really behind the knuckles, push that part right down into the mat, particularly focusing on the pointer finger. This is not only going to give you balance, but it's also going to alleviate some of the pressure that we feel on our wrists. Then we're going to push the ground away, not locking out the arms though. We want to make sure we have a micro bend in the elbows at all times, but we also want to maintain this pushing sensation away from the ground. We're then going to externally rotate the arms so that the eyes of the elbows are facing forward. We're then going to puff up between the shoulder blades. So kind of like a cat pose, but you're not curving the spine. You're just going to push the ground away and give that extra little oomph right between the shoulder blades there. We're then going to make sure our core is engaged by squeezing it in and tucking the pelvis under. So you want there to be the perfect line from the head all the way down through the tailbone. We're also going to make sure we have equal amounts of weight in both of the tops of the feet, just to make sure we're completely balanced and the weight is equally distributed. Alright, so now we're in the perfect tabletop pose, and tabletop pose is a great starting point for many floor positions. The ones we're going to cover today are high plank and downward facing dog, but there are many positions that this can be applied to. Basically, anytime your hands are supporting weight or your arms are supporting weight, you're going to come back to these little fundamentals and use them to grow within that posture. Alright, so I'm going to come back into a tabletop here. We're going to make sure the shoulders are over the wrists, the hips are over the knees. We're going to push the backs of the fingers into the mat, pushing the mat away, externally rotating the arms so that the eyes of the elbows are facing forward. We're going to puff up between the shoulder blades, and then we're going to engage the core and lightly tuck the tailbone under. We're going to make sure that the weight is equally distributed between the tops of the feet and the hands. And we're also going to bring our gaze to the top of our mat so that we have a nice and elongated spine. Now, without moving anything, besides our legs, we're going to step back into a high plank. So here we're keeping all of those same little adjustments that we made, and we're also going to make sure we don't drop the hips too low or let them go too high, because we want there to be a straight line from our head all the way to our heels. And then we're going to roll back into a downward facing dog. Now, down dog is an excellent example of pushing the ground away. We don't want to be collapsing into our shoulders like this. We want to first pushing the fingers into the backs of the fingers into the mat, pushing the mat away, rotating the shoulders down, away from the ears, and pushing the heels into the mat. Now it's okay if you have your knees bent, but you still want to work the heels back into the mat by pushing the ground away. You also want to bring your gaze between the feet to elongate the neck. And same way as in the other poses, you want there to be a straight line from your head to your tailbone in this position. Beautiful. All right, now we're going to come into a child's pose. All right, yogis, as I said, high plank and downward facing dog are just a couple of the poses that these adjustments can be made in. Anytime your weight is being supported in your hands, you can come back to these adjustments. So whether you're in an arm balance like a handstand or anything really, you can always just come back to these and make sure that you are getting the full potential out of that pose. All right, now take a quick sip of water and we're going to move on to standing poses. Alright guys, we're going to make our way to a standing position at the top of the mat. This is called Tadasana or mountain pose. I'm going to start by checking out the first thing we looked at in tabletop pose, which is where our feet are on the mat. So bring your hands to your hips and gaze down at your feet. We want them to be directly underneath our hips, so not too far out and not too far in, but perfectly underneath the hip bones. The next thing we're going to do from here is we're going to bring the weight into the four corners of the feet by lifting the toes up off of the ground. We're going to then push the ground away, straightening the legs, but maintaining that micro bend in the knees, the same way we did in our elbows. Next, we're going to tuck the pelvis under by engaging the glutes and engaging the core. Then we're going to roll the shoulders back, bringing the palms by the side, facing out. Chin goes up, gaze goes forward, and we're going to bring the toes back to the ground, using them for balance. And here you have the perfect Tadasana or mountain pose. And just like tabletop, Tadasana is the starting point for many standing postures that these adjustments can be used in. So the ones we're going to go through today are going to be high lunge and warrior 2, but there are many, many others that these can be used for. So let's build our way back up again, bringing the hands to the hips, gazing at the feet. They're hip width distance apart. We're going to lift up the toes, bringing the weight to all four corners of the feet, pushing the ground away but keeping a micro bend in the knees. We're going to tuck the pelvis under by engaging the glutes and also the core, rolling the shoulders back, bringing the hands down by the sides, facing forward, lifting the chin up, gazing forward, and bringing the toes to the ground. Next, we're going to bring our weight into our left foot, lifting the right foot up, knee into the chest, and we're keeping the same adjustments we just made in our left leg. And we're going to step the right foot back into a high lunge. So in our high lunge, we want to remember the same things we just talked about. So making sure we're using the toes to balance, specifically the big toe will be really helpful in balancing in this pose. We also want to make sure the knee is directly over the ankle. That's extremely important. It should never be too far past it. We also want to push the ground away so we're not collapsing into this hip, but we're pushing the ground away so we can stand up straight and not fall into this hip area here. We also want to tuck the pelvis under by engaging the glutes and also the core. We also want to remember in this pose to put equal amounts of weight in the front and the back foot so that no one is getting more pressure than the other, but weight is equally distributed. So bring your arms up, gaze is up, shoulders are rolled back, and we're in the perfect high lunge pose. Now we're going to open up into warrior 2. Same thing, we're using the toes to balance, especially the big toe. The knee is directly above the ankle. We're pushing into the ground so we're not collapsing into the hip. Glutes are engaged, core is engaged, and the pelvis is tucked under. We're rolling the shoulders back, chin is up, gaze is forward. We're also making sure we're putting equally as much weight into our back, the back edge of our right foot, so that the weight is equally distributed. So now we're in a perfect warrior two. We're going to come back into high lunge and step back into mountain pose. All right, so we're going to build our way back up again by bringing the feet to hip width distance. We're going to bring our toes up, putting the weight in the four corners of the feet, push the ground away, tuck the pelvis under by engaging the glutes and the core, rolling the shoulders back, dropping the hands by the side, gaze up, chin up, toes placed back down on the mat. We're going to bring our weight into the right foot, lifting the left foot into the left knee into the chest. We're going to step back into high lunge, balancing with the toes, especially the big toe, knees directly above the ankle. We're pushing the ground away so we're not collapsing into the hip. Our pelvis is tucked under, core is engaged, glutes are engaged. We're rolling the shoulders back, lifting the chin up, and we're putting just as much weight in our back foot as we are our front foot. And here we are in high lunge. And now we're going to open up into warrior two. We're going to make sure we're balancing with the toes. Your knee is above the ankle. Sometimes in warrior twos, your knee can collapse in, so make sure you pull it back out. We're pushing the ground away so we're not collapsing into the hip. We're engaging the core and the glutes and tucking the pelvis under. We're rolling the shoulders back, lifting the chin up and gaze up. And we also have equally as much weight in the back left foot as we do in the right. And breathe. And coming back through to a high lunge, we're going to step back into mountain pose. Taking a few breaths here. Beautiful job, yogis. And as I mentioned earlier, high lunge and warrior two are only a couple of the many poses you can use these adjustments for. So just always circle back to these little fundamentals and it will help you grow within each and every standing posture. Alright, yogis, awesome work. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you guys found that helpful. I'm going to leave a list of the adjustments we made in the description below. You guys can let me know if you have any questions or if you want to see anything in particular for next time. But I hope that this will serve as a useful toolbox for you in the upcoming flows that we have, something you can always go back to and just constantly reapply to your practice. So I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your day, and we will see you very soon. Namaste.